In football, we have seen impressive moments that are greatly remembered by several fans, but we cannot deny that a large part of the history of this sport has occurred in the definition since the 12 steps. That is why today we invite you to see legendary moments in penalties. So without anything else to say, let's start with the video. In this match between Sevilla and Borussia Dortmund, Erling Haaland would be in charge of taking the penalty in favor of the German team. But goalkeeper Bono not only stops the penalty, but also manages to block the subsequent rebound and reacts to this great moment by shouting at him, in the face of the Norwegian striker, who was visibly frustrated. Next, the referee is alerted by the VAR and decides to repeat the penalty, since the Moroccan goalkeeper took the lead in the moment before the. Once again he assumes responsibility, but this time he does not disappoint and converts the goal, obviously without forgetting his opponent, to whom he returns the kindness in the act. The Argentine Paulo Dybala is usually very sure on the hour. Execute the throws from the 12 steps, but on this occasion, defending the Juventus shirt, he had to miss his shot due to the slip that he suffered just when he was approaching the spot to kick in. A moment of very bad luck for this great striker, this footballer from the Benfica formative divisions. He tried to execute a penalty to Lopaneca, but he was unable to fully impact the ball, and he himself shot towards the goal, where he gave the goalkeeper time to stand up and take that ball just before he surpassed the golf league in a penalty for oblivion with a technique that he surely will not want to repeat again in this one. Definition of the European Cup. The almost infallible Jorginho would take charge of the penalty in favor of his team. The midfielder was known for executing his shot slowly and safely from 12 steps, but this time the play did not go as planned because of that Swiss goalkeeper Jan Sommer knew him by heart and managed to stop the shot with Suma. Ease in MLS, something rarely seen in this penalty would happen. The player comes forward to execute, but the goalkeeper manages to block the shot, although the referee's whistle quickly announces that it must be repeated because the one with the gloves has come forward. Weighing. From the strong claims, the penalty is repeated, and against all odds the goalkeeper once again shows off by defending his goal, but the repetition clearly shows that he himself is once again ahead of the allowed line. So the maximum penalty must be repeated 1/3 time, where the executor changes the stick and finally manages to convert the goal, provoking the anger of the goalkeeper and all his teammates. It seems that there was a great rivalry between the Salernitana's goalkeeper and Cristiano Ronaldo, since the Portuguese star, after scoring the penalty, ran to celebrate the goal in his face from the gloves. The referee ends the conflict by showing him the recent yellow card, which only manages to laugh anonymously, while the goalkeeper would react with clear gestures of anger at the obvious provocation. In this attack for West Ham, the footballer trying to center ends up causing United fullback Luke Shaw to hit the ball with his hands, causing the referee to whistle to award the maximum penalty. The London team quickly proceeds to make a change, bringing in Noble, their player in charge of executing this kind of shots for their take your fortune. The Spaniard David De Gea would be in charge of stopping the penalty taken by the English footballer with great class, and West Ham would have to be left wanting to take the lead on the score sheet in this match. In this training session at the St. Petersburg Zenit, Hott manages to deceive his teammate the goalkeeper in this penalty, sending his loot towards the goal and then impacting the ball to the side, opposite, towards where the one with the gloves was, showing a perfect tactic, very functional for these moments of fun between teammates in the year 2000. Portuguese Nobel Bernardo had converted a goal for Kepa, executing his penalty towards the middle, leaving the Spaniard lying on the ground, but here in time. Apparently Kepa alerted his partner Lunin regarding Bernardo's taste for kicking the middle. The Ukrainian goalkeeper listened to his partner and in this way was able to stop the shot very easily. Without racing, this footballer stood next to the ball for 9.15 seconds until he was completely sure about where he would launch his shot. Once he decided, he executed from that same position and Lodot convert the goal in a very unusual way, no doubt. Any in this penalty shootout for the UEFA Champions League? Manuel Doy was a giant in his figure, stopping their respective penalties against a Real Madrid full of figures. First, he defends Cristiano Ronaldo's shot with great mastery. Then he also manages to stop the Brazilian Kaká's shot, and finally manages to mentally impose himself in the presence of the great Sergio Ramos, who deflected his shootout. Stands incredibly. Poor Mourinho couldn't believe what his eyes were seeing in. In the penalty shootout between Argentina and France in the 2022 final, the star Martinez put all his distraction tactics on the table for the French kickers, including the moment when he throws the ball away from where Khomeini was. The young Frenchman went to look for the ball, but when he executed his shot, he took one too wide and left the team very committed to the Europeans' aspirations for the title. Team Crudo, the then Norwichery goalkeeper, is a renowned penalty specialist after his successful performance in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, defending the colors of the Netherlands in this round. He himself used a bottle where he had written down his favorite places to kick each of his rivals, which helped them to appeal to statistics and emerge victorious in this important match. And undoubtedly, you must always be well prepared in this penalty in favor of PSG. The rival goalkeeper tried to confuse Neymar by positioning himself closer to the right post of the goal, leaving almost the entire left side free for the Brazilian. May accepts the challenge and kicks to the sloppy side, but tries adjust the ball and ends up sending it directly towards the baseline. Without a doubt, this time things would not go well for the Brazilian crack at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. In this attack by the Argentine team, Poland goalkeeper Chesney would unintentionally hit Lionel Messi in the face, causing an infraction. The referee would quickly go to VAR to review the play, at which point the European bet Messi that the penalty would not be validated. Finally, the one with the gloves was wrong since the penalty was awarded, but against all odds he managed to cover up the execution of the Argentine number 10, giving life to his team in the most difficult match of the group stage now. Now we see Neymar again taking charge of a penalty in favor of PSG. This time, while the star was ahead of the goalkeeper, he pointed to where he should kick. The Brazilian did not hesitate to listen to him and placed the ball in exactly that same area, achieving the goal and eliciting a smile of complicity from that of the gloves. Later, in the same match, there is another penalty that favors PSG. This time Ney jokes with the goalkeeper about where he should take the shot. At the moment of truth, the Brazilian decides to pass the ball to his teammate Moricardi, converting a play prepared in the training. This Aston Villa goalkeeper would use one of the most basic and effective distraction techniques ever seen, and that is that he accompanied his rival throughout the journey towards the area, keeping his gaze fixed and almost without blinking. Apparently, the West Bromwich player would be affected because his shot from 12 yards was stopped with great quality by the goalkeeper. In this Bundesliga match, Croatian Andres Kamaris would execute the maximum penalty in favor of his team in a very particular way, and that is that he would do it without looking at the ball or a penalty. Kong Hin. Very rarely seen, and which also helps them achieve the long-awaited goal for their team. In the final stages of the match, corresponding to the UEFA Champions League, Yanni Carrasco had the opportunity to give victory to Atletico de Madrid with a maximum penalty, which would be contained by the goalkeeper. Then the rebound shot would hit the crossbar, and the third attempt of the Colchoneros would leave very close to the goal in a streak of bad luck that left those led by Diego Simeone without victory, who, if they had achieved the goal, would have qualified for the next one. Round in this disputed match between Lyon y PSG, the team from the French capital would receive a penalty, and the person in charge of making it effective would be Neymar Jr. His compatriot Lucas Pa, how would the goalkeeper give them, warning him that he is born? He usually throws his shots to the left. Finally, the penalty is taken and the goalkeeper obeys his teammate. But the Brazilian Creo had other plans and calmly converts the goal by throwing it to the right. In this penalty shootout he would have facing Liverpool and Chelsea, the latter would make a modification to put a specialist in. In this, as is Kepa Arrizabalaga in the first instance, Kepa challenges Virgin van Dijk, positioning himself to one side of the arc. The Dutchman accepts this challenge and finishes with great power, towards there destroying the Spaniard's bow. A few minutes later, Kepa would have the chance at his feet to keep his team's aspirations alive, but it would all end in a very bad shot that would go over the crossbar. In one afternoon, to be forgotten, without a doubt, the confrontation between Morocco and Spain for the qualifying phase of the Qatar 2022 World Cup would be defined from the penalty spot. The last definitive one would fall on the figure of the African team Akraj Hakimi, who would not only convert with great quality, but he would celebrate it with a small dance while his teammates approached upon receiving this penalty against Chelsea. The forward center Didier Drogba did everything in his power to distract and bother his rivals, taking away the ball with which they were supposed to kick the penalty, for example. Finally, it is executed, but the goalkeeper of the day in the shot and the scorer would celebrate having been a fundamental participant in that distraction. In this round of penalty kick, England, the goalkeeper, Portuguese Ricardo, would be the key figure to decide the appointment. Firstly, he stops the 7th penalty for the English, with the particularity that he does not use gloves, and secondly, he executes from the penalty spot to finally give victory to the Portuguese in a very tough match where they were clearly not favorites. In this penalty in favor of Real Madrid, Cristiano Ronaldo takes the lead and finishes with power, converting from 12 steps. The curious thing comes later in the slow-motion replay, where we can observe how the ball rises from the ground seconds before the shot without a doubt. It is a more than striking situation in this penalty shootout against Brighton David De Gea, and one of the United footballers would not hesitate to intimidate the players of the British club. For example, the Spanish goalkeeper had written down on a bottle the preferred places to execute of each of the rivals. Those mind games apparently turned out perfect, and they managed to make this footballer fail his execution. When this goalkeeper was about to receive the penalty, he himself decides to go towards the ball and kick it as far as possible. The referee has no choice but to admonish him, but the mental game was already done. Finally, the executioner approaches to define the maximum penalty, but the goalkeeper would end up with the shot with great certainty. And with this, we have reached the end of today's video, but if you want to see more content like this, I invite you to watch this video where you will find moments of laughter in football. Without anything more to add, I say goodbye and see you until next.